must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have, therefore, to resolve to conquer or die.
There's a free.
There's a pre-order bumper at the end. Sorry about that. That was the first look.
Yeah.
First reactions, guys.
That thing with the musket was ridiculous.
It's pretty good, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're gonna play it one more time, and we'll break it down a little bit as we go.
Yeah.
Mention a few things because we were.
One thing that's key is I'm told that this is in engine. This is not in game, obviously, because you're.
We're back to the trailer.
Yeah. They can hear us though. Okay.
Okay.
So, but
Lots
it
of
is
snow.
This is in engine though, so that means like this is their new thing at work. You know, this is the new Anvil tech at work.
We're definitely in the Animus. You get the
You can see the
breakdowns
Lots of
there.
hints.
Looks like there's a lot of nighttime gameplay,
Yeah.
which makes sense with there's not a lot of buildings for stealth that under the cover of night this is happening. There might be an animal element. What does this mean?
There's
What's the wolf
definitely-
element?
The wolf element.
We'll talk about that more in a bit. You know, obviously a huge focus on the wilderness here.
Yeah.
They want you to get the sense that, you know, you are not just around buildings like you used to be. Big gameplay, big...
Yeah, and here it
elements.
goes. This looks like this is what the climbing is going to be.
Yeah, I
this is
guess
going to be
you're
the
going
fluidity.
through some trees.
This
Yep.
is how you stay out of sight and
Yep.
make things happen.
I mean, it's a huge emphasis, you know, being in the wilderness. And obviously, you know, people are asking, are you witness to major battles? Are you involved in them?
Looks like
looks like a pretty
he's
good...
pulling some cloth off of soldiers or something. It's kind of a makeshift assassin uniform even.
Yeah, there's George, I think. Yep.
Old Georgie.
I'm gonna assume it's George, although...
Give
a
these
lot-
guys liberty or give them death.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
They're all getting death right now. No,
that didn't
No
look so
liberty.
good for them.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, you know, a lot of the things we were just talking about are actually, you know, directly involved with this. You know, you want to know about battles?
Big battles, yeah.
right there. You know, so you know, keep the questions coming, Pete. But we'll keep looking at this. So you know, one of the things you were asking, Pete, you know, wilderness, right?
Absolutely.
So, you
Big
know,
part of this.
and it actually is more than you would even think. So. Let's see, where are them wolves?
Real quick, anyone out there, we're digging through this first ever trailer for Assassin's Creed 3. Tweet us your questions to @IGN, hashtag AC3. Oliver M pointed out, oh no, I didn't see a hidden blade.
Okay,
yeah.
so they aren't
good
showing
eye.
it. I mean, this Ubi is trying to really, you know, show the differences this time around.
Yeah.
And they're not going to show the hidden blade, but we have confirmation that it is in here.
Okay.
Real quick about the wilderness. You know, you see the wolves here, obviously in the frontier, tearing apart some guards. This is actually deeper than you might realize. So not only is there wilderness and, you know, there's going to be animals just in the environment, but you can actually hunt animals and take their pelts and use them. It's actually a part of the currency, in-game currency. There is money in the game, but just like back then,
Fur trading,
you can actually
stuff
do
like that.
fur trading and stuff like that. And there's actually, they've said that the quality of your kill will determine how much value the
cleanly
pelt
it is,
has.
yeah.
if you hit a heart instead of like a face.
Correct. So if I go up to a bear, like, and I'm just going to fight this bear.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm going to go fight this bear, but if I can kill the bear in like one hit, that skin is worth a lot more than if I kill him in like 8 or 10 hits.
Do we have confirmation on bear counter kills?
Oh man, I hope so. I want to see, that'd be great. Like,
Let's see. Stephen Alexander's asking, do you think the Brotherhood has been hired by one of the sides? I don't think they really play by money, do they?
not really.
It's like this
got the
ongoing
creed, man. They
conflict.
gotta
Yeah,
abide by it.
I mean,
exactly.
the whole gist of it is, you know, you're looking at the Templars and the Assassins, and they have different views about how they want to fix and make the world better.
Right.
Yeah.
One is through control. The Templars are through control and actually, like, you know, really dictating how things go. Assassins believe more in free will.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So, you know, one thing here, Eagles, traditional part of the Assassin's Creed franchise, typical
and
symbol.
huge part
He's
of
wearing it on his hood.
Now we're looking at bald eagle. You know, makes
America's
sense.
It just
eagle.
screams America.
America. Yeah.
Now that eagle looks rather large. Do you think we could ride it into that sunset?
I sure hope so. It's like Lord of the Rings meets Assassin's
Right.
Creed.
Not quite.
Yeah, and again, we were mentioning the Animus. You kind of see hints at it there. Obviously, hatchet play, big part of this.
Yeah, if you scroll back, you'll see the first time we pointed out earlier in the stream that it actually has the Assassin's logo kind of in
the
gap in
the
there.
hatchet, right? Yeah, let's show that.
You know, to improve airflow as you're chopping into somebody's
I
head.
mean, that thing just looks, you know, it looks like the Assassin's Creed logo. Just
Yeah, that's a
flat
brilliant
out
little design.
Yeah, it's very clever.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, and again, as we're kind of watching Connor just take down some dudes here, some poor fellows.
This speaks a lot to what you said about aggression. It doesn't look like there's any, you know, when you would run up to somebody and hit him with your sword in 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations, it would kind of enter combat. But there, it looks like he can just storm through guys.
The whole idea is fluidity. Obviously, you see him there. He's got some sort of knife. I'm not even sure what that is. That's not a hidden blade, obviously.
No, it's not.
But he's got some sort of short blade.
And if we look at this actually juxtaposition of the two scenes.
Good job, Rich.
This whole Connor bit here is taking place at night, under the cover of darkness.
Right.
But what we're looking at with the wolves is actually the daytime reaction of the bodies left over from what he did.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is indicating that there's going to be like a day-night
there is
flow cycle and how long like bodies last. And
from what we're told is like, not only do you see the evolution of sort of environments throughout time, there's also seasons. Obviously, there looks like clear indication of day-night, but so for example, you know, you see this battlefield coming up here. So this might be whatever year this is going to be. I don't know if it's 1777, like the beginning of the trailer said, or if this is a different time period.
Yeah.
But big battle here, right? You might come back like 5-10 years later, and you'll see the remnants of the battle and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of just like, here is the over time, the evolution of this.
So
this
scroll it back real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go back to the first glimpses at the tree gameplay and looking at how we're going to maneuver through this world.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone was wondering, like, when this first came up, like, okay, you know, America in that time period, sure, there's some decent sized buildings in the bigger cities, but you know, how is it going to compare to Europe, you know, with its huge cathedrals and giant towers? This is it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I buy into this immediately.
This is like, this is America back then was like the great outdoors, you know, huge untouched expanses of wilderness.
Yeah.
That's why it's bringing in, you know, the whole Native American element where, you know, the close to nature and that whole thing. So it's that balance. Not only is this like the start of when America was born, but it starts, you know, hint at expansion and kind of, there might be some kind of thematics going on about like, this is nature, this is, you know, the power of nature, and then here's these guys trying to resettle our lands.
Which not only speaks to his native heritage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things, and just to point out, I mean, we've seen his sort of like artistic design and whatnot, but you look at his outfit, you know, and there's just clear hints about, you know, not only his Native American heritage, but, you know, he's got kind of the vest going on with the buttons and everything like that. But then, you know, the headdress at the top. I mean, he has the usual peak of the sort of assassin sort of symbol, but then he's sort of got a more Native American kind of eagle-like logo
on this front, on the costume front. Jamil's asking, do you think Connor's outfit fits in with the setting of the game?
No.
I think it works for what the franchise calls for.
Yeah.
You're not going
to. I mean, what we saw
this,
too ahead, once you get to the battle, it's kind of a ragtag bunch of soldiers.
Sure.
Like they have kind of mismatched colors, and he has kind of the same thing here. Like he has a little bit of a blue button-down bit, and it's different than earlier in the trailer, I believe. In the box art, he didn't have those blue flourishes.
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
We've seen images of him wearing that though.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least. So there is confirmation that you're able to upgrade his weaponry and his outfits like every other Assassin's Creed game. But yeah,
you're right. Okay, you're right. It's there.
Yeah, we got it. It's just dark.
This looks like it might be out in the same like 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who even knows if this is like straight out from? I love that part. It's so good. Greatest part.
Let's see. Kyla Bootsy Collins has a question from the past ones that might tie in. He says, "Wasn't there a glyph puzzle in a previous AC that implied Washington had a piece of Eden?"
Yeah, the apple of Eden. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if that outright is true, or if it's some sort of like myth, or like, you know, it'll be curious to see like exactly how much. But again, they've been working on this for years, so who's to say that doesn't actually pan out? Personally, I will be excited to see Connor like sort of work and navigate through history, but I don't. When you start getting into the weird like Apple of Eden and all that sort of stuff, it loses me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And whenever Desmond shows up, I'm just like, please go away. But
I'm gonna rewind it back to one of the battles. Nicholas Sinclair's asking. I've heard
the
rumors.
Big battle or the
earlier when he's taking out the soldiers.
Sure.
Nicholas Sinclair's asking. I heard rumors of dual wielding weapons. Does the trailer confirm this?
It certainly.
We did notice at one point you said he had a knife in his hand while the hatchet was in the other hand.
But it looked like he was just holding it and using the hilt to push that guy down.
Yeah,
I don't think he was actually stabbing him in the back.
Yeah, it's.
For anyone just tuning in, we're going through the first ever trailer.
He's got a thing.
Right there.
Yeah,
he's got a thing.
That's
like a shiv.
It looks like it's actually made out of stone.
Yeah, it could be.
All right. Yeah, he's definitely got two weapons at play.
Yeah, you're right. Right. He sort of pushes him down to be able to
Good
shoot
call,
the
Nicola.
musket from.
Anyone out there watching, we're going through the first Assassin's Creed 3 trailer. Tweet us your questions to @IGN, #AC3. We're going to try and pull as many details out of this as we can and get as many questions answered as we possibly can, as we're, just getting into this alongside you guys to learn what we can learn. Let's see. This is kind of an interesting thing, and it's super early because this is obviously all setting and story so far, but Super Sidum's asking, what do you think the multiplayer will be like?
I mean, so I think it's worth noting that the multiplayer is pretty good. They last time around actually, and I thought this was very smart of them. They sort of pulled story into it for the first time, and really started kind of allowing you as you leveled up to discover more about the Templar organization actually. So they'll probably, my guess would be, keep that off the table for a little while.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the last elements.
Yeah.
Because they're just really trying to establish this new setting, this new world for the next few games in the series, we're assuming.
I think it would be cool if they didn't necessarily keep it entirely colonial and actually allowed you to play as different elements from throughout the series, and let the multiplayer kind of truly be a training ground.
You want to scroll back to the first fights real quick? Michael Tung's asking, the bloodstains on the snow are interesting. Do you think the enemies will get suspicious? There's a lot of, that's happened in a lot of kind of stealth games where you have to move bodies, because otherwise they're found.
Awareness has always been a thing with Assassin's Creed, right? Like when they started showing the big selling point was people will freak out when they see you climbing buildings. They'll point at you, everyone will get suspicious. When you knock somebody over, people are going to point and go like, who's this guy? So I assume that that's going to continue, and this will be a important part of that.
Maybe the Brotherhood is your wolves.
I know, that's what I was thinking too. Like,
call the wolves.
Because if more British soldiers came upon this scene, wouldn't they assume that the wolves did this to them? They were attacked by wolves?
I don't know. That guy looks like he has a pretty blatant bullet in his face.
That's true.
That's a lot of blood.
Let's see, we had one interesting question about the overall thematics of the time period and the conflict. JD Foster 00 is asking, how do you think they'll market this in the UK because of killing, British soldiers?
People.
Right.
Yeah. In terms of marketing, personally, I don't care how they market it, but again, coming back to, at least from what Ubisoft is saying, there is a pretty non-black and white approach to how they're dealing with the characters, and obviously, you got to be smart about that. It's a global game, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of, but that's where the sort of genius of merging it with the Assassin's Creed franchise comes into play. Because if you're just going to do some sort of American Revolution game, that's going to be tough, right?
Exactly.
And actually, to my knowledge, we've never actually seen an American Revolution game. Unless it's maybe some sort of...
some History Channel thing.
Or I was thinking maybe some sort of strategy game on the PC or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Empire Total War might have been around that time.
Maybe, yeah. But beyond that, we've never seen like an action game like this, for sure. So yeah, I think that's the idea, right? Is it's going to be a tough impression.
There's a strategy game set around this time period. I can't remember the name of them offhand, but... we actually have a question from Mar Randall that asked something that we sometimes just skip over when we're talking about kind of game lingo, that kind of stuff. But Mar Randall's asking, so this is in-engine, but not in-game.
Correct.
What does that mean?
So it means that it's using the new Anvil engine, to actually render it. This is not pre-rendered. This is like more or less what you could expect to see in the game. And you can kind of tell just by sort of the way the characters look. They look more like you would see something in the game. One thing I will point out, though, there's no AI running. There's no game systems running.
Yeah,
none of that's running.
Scroll back real quick so we can kind of see the difference between cinematics and how the gameplay would operate otherwise.
The things that I sort of point out that, when you're looking at what would be presumably George here, good old George, is, you can just sort of tell that these are not pre-rendered characters. These look much more like something that you're going to see in a game. You can tell just by how they animate, how they look.
CG trailers tend to look a lot better than this. Not to say that this looks bad at all, because this looks amazing.
Exactly. But when it's pre-rendered, there's just a lot more embellishment and a lot more just kind of, you can do crazier stuff because you can. You look at any sort of Blur trailer and you can just, they go all out, right?
Yeah.
So this again, from what I'm told, is what you could kind of expect to see in the game. But again, the game, in order to play a game, you need a camera perspective.
Exactly.
You need your UI. You're going to need your stuff in the upper left-hand part of the screen. You're going to need to be seeing behind Connor so that you can see your environment and move the camera around. So that's a clue that it's not in-game, of course, right? You're not going to be playing a game that looks like this. But yeah, I mean, and there's just so many little environmental effects and everything like
the
that.
snow falling off the branches, the
This
wind
sort of stuff
blowing
billowing
here.
over the
And
edge.
to be honest, Revelations did some of this just about this. It was close to this, but this is just that next step. This is the next engine, and I think their kind of goal is to kind of bring sort of a almost next-gen look to the current gen.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective of the two different types of style, think of like the original Dead Island trailer. That was total CG, slow pace,
Right.
everything. That had nothing to do with the game. If you played Dead Island, it was completely different. So let's roll back to the beginning of this. Ross Hastings is just joining us. Thanks for tuning in. He's asking, I just tuned in, do we have a character name yet?
Yeah. So character name's Connor. He actually has a name from the Mohawk tribe, which I don't dare pronounce.
or something like that.
It's brutally long with some weird characters.
It pronounces completely different than the way it looks.
So I won't even pretend to know that one. But yeah, his sort of common name is Connor.
Okay.
So yeah. And yeah, if you're just tuning in, we're sort of running the trailer back and forth, pointing out cool things.
Yeah, send your questions to @IGN via Twitter, @IGN, #AC3. TJ Napier is asking, do you think you'll be able to fight in the front lines of battle at some point?
If they don't, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
You see, I think they might, because there's certain scenarios, I think in near the end of Brotherhood, when you go to the final location, where you're kind of running through a battle and avoiding people.
Yeah.
And even AC1 in the very end of the game, you fight like you're running through a war there.
Yep.
And even Revelations, like when you go into that one the armory, I think.
Yeah.
There's like battles going on everywhere, and you're just trying to get to your perspective. So it's not too far-fetched that he's going to show up in that fight right there.
Yeah, and I mean, this trailer, from everything we know about the game that we've learned so far, definitely seems to be like setting the tone. Not just the tone, but sort of like, this is what you can expect from this
Exactly.
game. So if you show me a big battlefield with dudes lining up and the cover is two sides squaring off and Connor's in the middle of it, and then I don't get in a battle, that's like a 6.0 right there. I know those guys.
Well, we hear a lot about there's supposed to be thousands of people on screen at a time.
Right,
what this engine
right.
is supposed to be capable of.
Yeah.
So I would assume that that's not just going to be in the background.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, they've actually said so. I mean, like previous games were capable of doing maybe 100 or something like that, and now they are capable of doing up to 1,000.
That's going to be ridiculous.
That's part of the
a
new
lot of
engine
people.
tech. Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of counterattacks, or a lot of blocking and counterattack. This can take like 3 hours.
Final
Like
battle
that
is just
frame rate.
one at a time. All those 1,000.
See, James
dudes.
Bomber's asking, do you think we'll have wolf vision instead of eagle vision?
No, because the eagles are a very important
Exactly.
part
I
of
think
it.
if anything,
bald
this
eagle.
one is good.
Bald eagle vision.
this further
Bald eagle
solidifies
vision.
that eagle vision makes sense in this series.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple other notes, just while we're getting more questions and whatnot. No tower defense.
No tower defense.
No, we're all happy about
That
that.
answers
I'm pretty good with
TJ
that.
Napier's other question.
Yeah, there we go. Answering your.
So I don't know if that's good or bad. What you wanted, if you wanted more or less, you don't get it this time.
none at all.
I'm glad of that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that, as they were trying to do different things over the the last couple of years, good experiments never hurt. That was one that we don't need. Nope.
I know. Of all the things in Revelations, I spent the least time doing that. Out of all the other Assassin's games, I spent the least time unlocking things.
I never played it again after the tutorial. I just had no use for it. It was like, your tower is under siege. I don't care.
I mean, and that's the
That
thing
was
is
it.
like it was kind of goofy because you had to do this big epic fight to protect your lair.
Yeah.
But the funny part was you could just lose, wait a little bit, and then just walk in and kill the dude again and take control of it. It was so much easier to fail and kill the guy than it was to actually defend your lair. So that was weird. One other thing, speaking of sort of layers, the stuff like the the big dungeons that you go through, and they're kind of called different things in different games. But the big ones where you're just huge settings,
Very
and
platform
going-
heavy, almost no
platform
combat.
heavy.
Exactly.
Those are back. They haven't really specified what, and I'm curious where the hell they're supposed to be in colonial America. But maybe caves or something.
Yeah,
But
there'll be
anyway,
something.
those are supposed to be
White
back.
House is pretty big.
Haven't you seen that?
exactly.
Haven't you
Although-
seen National Treasure?
That is an interesting thing you bring up, though, because if I have my time correct, there will be no White House in this game.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
because I believe
Bring it back
the
to
capital is in
the
Pennsylvania.
point where he's fighting off the soldiers in the night. Nate Lee's asking, how do you feel about scalping being a possible gameplay element? At the very end of this, there's a shot that looks like he might be scalping
kind of
someone.
going down for
I
it.
think
Yeah,
what
but it doesn't
is
show-
He's pulling his hatchet out of the guy's face.
Okay.
As he
Honestly,
jumps at the man on the horse.
It looks like it's hinted at.
If
though,
I
you know
were
what
a
mean?
betting man, I would say scalping. But
I
we'll
would
see.
say no.
I would say scalping.
Oh,
There was some discomfort
Right
around
there.
that when Gun came out, and there was some scare.
right there. That's the shot I'm
There.
talking about.
There,
where
there.
It hints that it's a potential thing. We
sure.
really don't. Yes. Scroll back real quick. What do you guys think? Do you think that's a thing? Does that make sense with like the good-intentioned
I think it'd be a
assassins? Is
silly-
there a reason to?
I think it'd be a silly mechanic to
Yeah.
have like a scalp button. But
I mean,
maybe-
I don't want it
Quick
to be
time
a
event
mechanic,
minigame.
right?
Right.
I don't want a mechanic.
Maybe
If,
we'll-
if you're going to put it in the game and you want to make it a real, see, like here, it kind
You
of.
see, he's getting up. His other arm kind of lagged behind a
They
little
hide
bit.
it.
I
I mean,
can't
look,
tell
there
if
is
he's holding
something, yeah.
anything.
I will say two things. One, I don't want it to be a mechanic. I don't want to be like tapping A furiously. That would make me kind of nauseous. But I mean, I think if you want to acknowledge the reality of how that's just how it was, right? I think we look at it now with like sort of this like, you know, oh man, that's brutal. But that's
Yeah.
I think that's just part of how it was back
Yeah,
then.
totally.
So if they are going to be as historically accurate as possible, maybe that's not that is something that Connor believes in. But you know, and this is sort of the challenge, right? That Ubisoft has. You're dealing with a very, very sensitive thing. Like
Yeah.
also slavery. Like how do you deal with that? Like do you deal with that?
I don't
you know,
think that's-
there's some
Go back
very
real quick to the
dark
tree
parts
gameplay.
of history that you have to deal with. The tree, yeah.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about this? Because obviously the other Assassin's Creeds have kind of set up this, okay, you can jump
the
and
tree?
swing from bars. You know, you can swing from hanging pots,
There we
and
go.
Revelations introduced the long jump off of swinging pots.
Right.
Do you think, I feel like with the things as they currently
Innovation right
are,
there.
it's not smooth enough to warrant something as random as tree branches.
Sure.
well, he turns there. He does the pot 90-degree.
Yeah, do you
turn on
think
that.
it's going to be like the same thing, but all these nicely laid out tree
It's gonna be
paths?
hard to see how they.
So that-
label
I'm
that.
curious how this works. Like, can you climb any tree from the bottom?
That's
TBD,
yeah.
I guess.
That's sort of the big challenge. I think they would be smart, you know, I mean, they really trained you this in Assassin's Creed 2, and you sort of don't really hear about it in 2B and 2R, but there's always white cloth wherever
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
actually
good point.
like pop
It's all
up.
very subtle.
So maybe there's like a flower
A little bit
at the
of
base
leaves.
of every tree that you can climb up. I mean, again, that's sort of the big problem, right? Is like if your trees are very rigid looking and like, yes, I can clearly come through this path, then that's not going to look very good,
Yeah.
right? And you're not going to want to do that. But so it's got to be seamless. It's got to feel natural. Yeah.
For anyone just tuning in, we're going back and forth across this Assassin's Creed 3 trailer. Send us your questions via Twitter to @IGN, #AC3. We're getting to as many as we can. We're looking at this as many times as we can to really try and get to the bottom of what we're seeing here. Let's see. Reese is asking, do you think you'll be able to command the wolves to help you? I think that'd be a great replacement for the
Man.
the Brotherhood.
Yeah,
Oh,
they,
man.
Like
pick them up.
tap L, wolves jump out of the trees.
Oh man, out of the trees.
I'm game. I'm game. Let's
Out
do
of
it.
the
out of
tree.
hay bales and snowbanks.
Maybe you can like
That'd
be amazing.
Just saying.
Hey, you
don't
don't
know
know what they
assassin
did back
wolves.
then. Maybe they could back then. They were like monkey wolves and stuff. I don't know.
See, Zach Carnahan's asking, any word on how the long-range weapons work? They seem a bit different than the previous game.
Yeah, we don't see any bow action.
We've had crossbows,
Yeah.
like in the older ones. So
Sure.
how is this?
And
you know-
pistols too.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it'll be interesting because guns back then were not accurate
It takes
at
like
all.
9
No.
minutes to load.
Yeah, exactly. So like, is that going to be part of it? Obviously, when you're dealing with something like that, you got to sort of balance like the gameplay and realism.
Maybe
Exactly.
Ben Franklin will invent him a machine gun.
We actually have heard that Ben Franklin is involved, though to exactly what capacity is
Right.
difficult to say. Apparently, he does play somewhat of a Leonardo da Vinci role, but we'll see.
That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like big names and inventors of the day.
Yeah. We know George Washington. We know Ben Franklin. Charles Lee, who's actually a name I'm not 100% familiar with. I probably was back in like 5th grade or something, but currently not up to date with. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the big figures of the time will be involved in some capacity.
Hang on, I love that dude who's running, and all he's doing is banging on a drum.
Oh, dude.
He's not doing anything but banging on a drum.
It's like, wish I had a
On
gun,
the
wish I had a gun, wish I had a gun.
Yeah, he's toward the front.
Where is he?
Yeah, it's at the very, very end.
Very end.
See, Chris Zimmerman's asking, do you think the game will have a section in the UK, maybe a chapter in London?
Yeah, man.
That could be cool.
I
don't know.
Sorry, what? The UK and London?
Yeah, he says, do you think the game will have a section in the UK,
So,
maybe a chapter in London?
One thing you could do, and we were talking about what do you do for sequels and that sort of thing, is maybe that's what you do, And it depends.
the other side of the conflict.
I mean, here's the realistic problem, right? Again, you've got the 30-year expanse to cover, so you could do whatever you want, really. But it does take a little bit of time to get over there.
Yeah.
So do you really want to be like, and then
Mass Effect elevator loading screen, but you're on a ship across the Atlantic.
Maybe Ben Franklin will invent him an airplane.
True. Good.
I'm onto something.
Okay, so guys, we've been breaking through this Assassin's Creed 3 trailer on IGN.com all week and going forward. We're going to bring you every possible detail we can about this thing.
Yeah, we're actually going to ask you guys what you thought. I mean, you've obviously been giving us your feedback.
Keep this conversation going.
But we're going to pull in your feedback onto the site itself and publish your comments.
So keep sending your comments and questions to @IGN #AC3. Yep. We have about 5 minutes left here, so we can get a few more questions in, and then we're going to show the trailer one last time and leave you guys with that. So let's see. Aldo Gomez is asking, has customizable armor been confirmed?
Yes.
It has. I didn't know that.
That was easy.
There we go.
And weapons.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. A lot of the basic idea of what you saw in previous games applies and will have some sort of implementation in this game. Exactly what and how remains to be seen. Property is back.
Okay.
We just don't know exactly. We just don't know exactly how it's back, right?
Yeah.
So they could change it up completely. I mean, that was sort of the I liked it in AC2, but by 2B and 2R, I started to get a little tired of it because basically, I would spend all my money buying everything in sight, and then I would just go put the game down and walk away for an hour or two, or actually more than that, and then come back to like
more money.
Wealth beyond my wildest imaginations, and then just buy everything in sight. So I think they need some adjustments there, but yes, it's back.
Okay. Let's see. Rory's asking, do you think we'll be able to throw the tomahawks? I don't think the trailer showed that.
No, it doesn't.
It was all in. It was in his hand the whole
That
time.
thing seems pretty attached.
That the tomahawk strikes me as more of a sword type idea,
Maybe your
or a
knife,
short
it's
sword.
the equivalent of your knife.
Yeah, I mean, because he could probably have quick knives too. I think that throwing the tomahawk might be a bit ambitious because
you have to go get it every time.
And then it's just gone. Like, I don't know where it's in.
You're like trying to get it out of the tree.
He throws it in the snow. Like it's gameplay, tapping A real quick.
It flies
so you can,
off
like,
of that cliff.
Yeah.
See, JB's asking another question about what's going to be available and what you can do. Do you think the hook blade will be back? This begs the question, like, what do the assassins transfer, like, down the line and across the world, Like,
it
what
seems like the hidden blade
do they share?
The hidden blade and the general sort of, like, traditional outfit to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's sort of each culture's implementation of the rest of it. I don't think the hook blade's going to be back.
Could fit that role perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Like, he could use it to jump higher. He can use it to get on tethers if he needs to slide down.
I just don't know what you're going to tether to, really, in colonial America.
To what,
down on the second floor.
For you guys, like, in the last few games, I stick to, like, 1 or 2 weapons. Like,
Yeah.
I use my hidden blades for almost everything.
I
didn't even
butcher knife, and that was the only thing.
Like, you end up with this huge weapon wheel of options of stuff you can equip, but do you actually use all that? I never did.
Some. I use the knives a lot.
Yeah.
Poison if you want to go undetected.
Screw poison. I don't need poison. I use the hidden blade, the knives, and I'll bring out a big weapon whenever I'm feeling arrogant. That's about it.
Let's go on one last thought to kind of leave everyone with. Jesse Sessler's asking, as the game progresses through time, there seems to be less of a focus on assassins versus Templars. What do you think about that?
I think that's really true. Like we said earlier, we're distancing ourselves from the origins of the assassins. Mm-hmm. Like we're seeing nighttime stuff. Like assassins, just the original assassins in Altair's era just didn't assassinate people in nighttime. Mm-hmm. A big part of being an assassin was having the stones to kill someone in broad daylight. Mm-hmm. And Ezio had a bit of that, and then the odd nighttime mission. And yeah, I think as we progress through time, they are losing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's certainly a movement they're making.
I think that if this is Desmond's final journey or whatever, that's what Desmond's supposed to be, is sort of supposed to be giving us that larger context. And I think that, at least in the last 2 games, Ubisoft may have failed in that, because I just find Desmond annoying. Like, I don't actually feel like I'm learning anything from him. I just want to get back to the other stuff. So I think that's their great challenge, right? Is if that is important to them, they better do a better job of making me care, because all I want to do is go run through the wilderness and tomahawk dudes. You know?
All right, everybody, so sorry to cut you off.
No.
We've been talking about this for an hour now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're about to show you the Assassin's Creed 3 first ever trailer one more time, but keep the conversation going. Send your questions to @IGN, #AC3. To answer everyone's question, which we're getting just mountains of. Yes, the Hidden Blade is confirmed for Assassin's Creed 3. It just isn't shown in the trailer.
I'm glad that people are worried about it. It just
Exactly.
goes to show
That's my
weapon is
absolute
awesome.
favorite element
It's like
as well.
the lightsaber. Like if you have a Star Wars game without a lightsaber, useless Star Wars
Exactly.
game.
Like the first half of every Kyle Katarn game.
Yeah.
So thank you
Good.
guys so much for joining us. This has been IGN Live presents Assassin's Creed 3, the reveal trailer. Let's watch it one more time.
The time is now near at hand which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have, therefore, to resolve to conquer or die.